I lived my life and I've been, you see life unfold and it's not always cute.
No.
So when you've been through enough, you get, I got to a point in my life where I was like, wow, I didn't go through all this stuff for nothing.
Oh, yeah. You know what time it is. It's time to get a little Fronky up in here. This is Let Me Be Fronk.
It's time to get funky. We're all getting funky. It's time for a Lisa Fronk. A Lisa Fronk.
Hello and welcome back to Let Me Be Fronk. I'm your host, Alyssa Fronk, and this is the show I've yet to come up with a hook for, but that's okay. We're having a great time over here. I'm so excited to introduce you all to this next guest who's beyond special for many reasons, as you'll soon learn. She's a born and raised Bronx native, a mother, lover, and minister at Park Slope, Brooklyn, currently pursuing a Master of Divinity at Union Theological Seminary. But trust me, this isn't your regular degular minister. You'll want to stick around for her radicalized word. She's also a 32-year veteran of the beauty business, starting as a nail tech in high school, transitioned into management, and ultimately became one of New York's best hairstylists. When she's not working or in class, you can find her spending quality time with her family, including cats Zulu and Fendi, cooking plant-based meals, spending lots of time in nature, or conducting field research on jazz clubs in the tri-state area. Fun fact, her fandom of Old Dirty Bastard from the Wu-Tang Clan is responsible for connecting her to her fiancé. That's right, y'all. She's newly engaged. She is the epitome of love and humility, a vocal humanitarian, and the type of person who leaves a lasting impact wherever she goes. Please welcome to Let Me Be Fronk, my dear friend, Okema Diaz.
Oh my God, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
So proud of I'm always proud of you, but I'm particularly proud of you because this is wonderful and I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy you are here. I'm so happy you agreed to this. Thank you for your support and your love. And I'm proud of you. Did you just hear that rap sheet? Like, you've been doing the damn thing for a minute now.
Well, I've been here for a minute too.
She
so
has.
there's that.
Not to age you. Okay, so...
I mean, it is what it is. 32 years in the beauty business kind of gave it away.
Do the math. And I also said she's a mother, so like she has a full-grown daughter. We'll get to it. But I have known Okema ever since I moved to New York. She's one of the first people I met here and really bonded, connected with, and became a dear friend of mine. I found her because I was looking for a hairstylist. I needed to get this mop trimmed. And this is when I still lived up on the Upper West Side, and she worked at Lavelli Salon for quite a while. When I was looking for salon, I came across Lavelli, and all the Yelp reviews were like, Okema. And I was like, who is this Okema? So I called, and I was like, is Okema available? Can I get an appointment with her? And like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. They got me in. The second I met this woman, I knew I was safe. I knew I was going to be taken care of. I knew I was with the right person. And we just talked from start to finish of that whole appointment. And I had never had an experience like that where it was such an authentic conversation and we got really deep and not too personal, but we did get personal. And you said something so profound to me that really took me back. You said, like, I'm working this is a very personal job. I'm working with people's heads all day. Yep. And I feel energy. Like, I sense energy. I'm very sensitive to energy. I can feel stuff. And you had said, like, I feel like you have good energy. Like, I knew instantly and stuff. And I was just like, how cool is this woman? Like, she is going beyond the scope of providing a hair service. She is connecting and like using her soul and her gifts of connection to make this a wholesome, complete experience where you come into the salon and you're just like, I'm going to be taken care of and this is going to be great. And this woman has my best interests at heart and she's looking out for me. Wow. So you're so good at what you do, but you're also an incredible person. So when you put those two together, honey, you can get a job anywhere. You're the best in the biz. That's why I said you're the best hairstylist in New York.
Well, you're so sweet.
So yeah, I've known you 6 years now. Do you still claim this? Long? Do you claim this hair? I try to make it look decent today.
I mean,
absolutely not. Absolutely never.
No, it's all good.
Do that. I've never loved or been loyal to a hairstylist as long as I have been to you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. No, you're my favorite.
I received that.
You said you were happy to be my New York mother. You said, let your mom know you got a New York mother here. I'm looking out for you.
That's right.
And you have. And
That's right.
I just love you and I cherish you so much. And just thank you for being so good to me all these years.
You're so sweet. Are you really trying to make me cry? Like this is like 5 minutes in.
I said I got the tissues ready.
So I wanted to say, so like I'm sure Lavelli will enjoy the shout outs. Shout out to Lavelli. I worked there for 8 years. It was a great part of my life. I am no longer there, but if you guys want to like call and ask me that, I think it would be a fun experiment. But no, I'm now working for myself, as you know, on 14th Street. So,
and I love the new setup. I love the hairstylist there. Shout out, great vibes, immaculate vibes. The place is beautiful. It's full of light and plants and exposed brick.
Yeah, it's
just a good time. Like every time I'm going there, I'm like going to hang out with friends. Let me bring in a treat for the crew.
It's true. You spoil me. Yes, you definitely spoil me.
So I've known Okema 6 years, and I plan to know you many more. Okema, if you don't mind, let's take the audience back. Who was Okema in the early days? As I mentioned, you're a Bronx girl. Tell us what it was like growing up in New York. Like, you're a native. You're a proper native. Let's hear about your early days. What was it like in childhood, Bronx?
This is actually pretty perfect. 'Cause, you know, there's a lot. I mean, we could do this whole podcast on my childhood in the Bronx. But
I'll have you back.
But I've always said this, and I'm always going to say it, that if I were living in a chateau in France, I would still rep for the Bronx. Like, it's never going to leave who I am as a human being. It gets dragged all the time, but it's very clear to me that when someone comes for the Bronx, they don't really know the Bronx.
Yeah.
Because the Bronx is so dynamic, you know, and it just really, I'm not gonna lie, it made me who I was. And I'll say that in a literal sense because, I was raised during a time when hip hop was being developed by the kids in the neighborhood.
That's incredible.
Like, there were literal kids my age that used to pull out linoleum to put on the corner and do windmills and break dance. And
wow.
Then you see people doing graffiti, and then they used to have the block parties. And to be a kid and grow up in an environment like that, and then you have parents that love to spin records and host parties where people get dressed up and dance. Yes, this was a while back.
What a time.
I'm probably the same age as most of your friends' parents, so you guys can talk to your parents about this type of thing. I don't focus on age that much, but I also don't step over the fact that what I'm talking about is the late 70s and early 80s. It was a time. So it was great. It was great in a lot of respects, but then it was the 80s in the Bronx. So even though my neighborhood was like a blend, it was working class, but they changed the terminology. I mean, once upon a time, middle class or lower middle class, they used to call it. I mean, we all know about that, but I don't want to go off on a tangent. So, so basically, both of my parents worked. My mother didn't have to work. I'll put it like that. We owned our home. I had a backyard with an apple tree. When people talk about the Bronx sideways, I'm like, well, I had a backyard with an apple tree, so there's not many people who can say that.
She did just fine. Look at her now.
Yeah. But anyway, it was a beautiful time, but it was also like a very hectic time as a kid. There was a lot of information about kids being abducted, right? So it was like, watch out for the blue van. Like, we would literally play games that avoid getting kidnapped.
No way.
Yes. What else? Crack, I didn't personally see crack vials on my block, but there were areas in the neighborhood where you can go and see that. And then, some of my relatives lived in neighborhoods where it was just, I heard stories about, actually I dated a guy who's from East Harlem. He was telling me about how he knew someone that used to collect them as a child.
Oh my God.
And categorize them based on the color of the top.
Kind of bleak.
Because they used to be primary colors.
Oh Lord.
They have to make it stand out somehow. But anyway,
he was recycling.
It was heavy at times. Eventually we ended up moving to Virginia Beach, Virginia, when I was 15, right before I turned 16. So, a lot of people assume that was a completely different world because it was the suburbs. And yeah, in a few regards it was, looking outside of the window and seeing ducks, waddle through your cul-de-sac. And my mother really went there. We lived in a cul-de-sac. We had a gazebo. It was it was the life that she wanted for us. And it wasn't a bad time for me to be there because I was a teenager in high school. So how could I not have a good time?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an interesting transition because it's everything that my mother tried to keep me from in the Bronx, I ended up finding anyway in Virginia Beach.
Wow. Were you sad to move?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But I adjusted
Of course.
like very quickly.
You're resilient.
But it was a good time. I mean,
And how long did you stay in Virginia?
6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you moved back to New York?
And then I moved back to New York.
You said, can't keep me away, baby.
Yeah.
I'm a native. So you started nail teching in high school.
Yeah. Which was a complete fluke.
Yeah?
It was, it was not a plan of mine at all. But, you know, my mother, she was getting her nails done. She always maintained her manicure. Her nails look great. So I asked her if I could actually, if she can pay for my manicure. And she's like, yes, I'll do it this one time, but you'll have to pay moving forward. I'm not going to keep paying for your manicures. And I was like, all right. So I always worked. So, you know, I'd go places and get my nails done. And, you know, I had that one person that I loved, but I didn't always get to be with them. And it just got to a point where I would get so frustrated. I was paying money and I was ending up frustrated because I wasn't happy with the job that they were doing.
Right.
And I, you know, had this grand idea that somehow I could do it myself. Oh my God. Well, at the time it was acrylics. I was doing acrylic overlays on my nails. And yeah, good old 90s.
That's a job. That's a job and a half.
Yeah. And so I thought, you know, professionals always make a job look easy.
Of course.
So
Good ones.
yeah, I could do this. Oh my God. It took like 4 hours for me to get through that set. Wow. Just filing and filing. It was wild.
Did they look good?
Eventually, yes.
Okay.
But, you know, it ended up being a thing where I was doing my own nails. People would ask me about my nails. I'm like, oh, I do them. And like, oh, can you do mine? And yeah, and I was doing really well in high school. Like, I was
so this kind of
making
business,
good money.
it kind of happened like word of mouth. Just people were like, oh, hey, do my nails. You said, all right.
And then I was my own, you know, I was my own model.
Okay,
So
entrepreneur.
yeah,
Good for you.
it was pretty amazing.
At that point, did you know you wanted to work in the beauty industry, or you feel like you kind of fumbled into it because of the nail
It was
thing?
definitely a fumbling into, because my plan was to, and I talked to you about this, my plan was to come back to New York and go to FIT
Yes.
to get a degree in communications and get into like fashion journalism.
Wow.
That was like the initial dream.
That world was robbed.
I feel like we always end up where we belong anyway.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I ended up, you know, graduating from high school with a lot of, you know, nail experience under my belt. Came back up to New York. I probably spent like a half a semester at FIT. And then I ran back to Virginia to be with someone who would eventually become my first fiance.
Oh.
Yeah, so I decided to go with plan B. So plan B was go back to Virginia, be in the relationship, which if we made it a year after that, we were lucky.
Lord.
And then, you know, start my own, like have my own salon. Which at that time in Virginia, I mean, you know, New York makes it very challenging for entrepreneurs, especially in this day and age. But, you know, it was something that was feasible and could be done. And I was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And then like right before I was about to do that, I had to come back to New York.
Why did you have to come back?
I had a lot of unfinished business.
Okay.
There were experiences that I needed to have that
I see.
I knew that if I didn't give myself the opportunity to come back, I would have regretted it. And I don't do regret.
Okay.
So
You are someone who really listens to your intuition, your gut, and you go by that.
I try to. And it's
Wise
tough
woman.
sometimes because, you
It's
know,
so tough.
you don't always see what the result is going to be straight away. And that's one of the things that I am so grateful about in my life at this point. I'm just obedient.
Yeah.
You know, like I listen to that inner, you know, we call it many things, the inner voice, the spirit, the energy, the vibe. I mean, this is all the same thing as far as I'm concerned.
What do you
Just
feel like it
different
is
language
to
for
you?
it. I mean, it's definitely spirit.
Okay.
I've always been, you know, even as a child, rooted and grounded in spirit, you know? So, I mean, it's not like God in the sense of the white man up in the clouds with the beard. I don't even believe that. And I don't believe there's a up in the clouds either. Like, I'm a theologian who doesn't believe in heaven or hell. I believe that it was a concept that was developed to control people. And it has worked really, really well.
Ren shook at home. Well, I want to still talk about your background a bit. So
Yes.
you came back to New York to pursue experiences. When did daughter come into the picture?
Oh, wow.
Because you are a mother.
Yeah, so daughter coming into the picture was a huge surprise for me. I mean, I always knew I wanted to be a mom. Since I had, when I was 3, my earliest memory of being 3 and holding my baby doll that my grandmother got me. Actually, I always knew I wanted to be a mother before I wanted to be a wife. And with my upbringing, like being a wife was part of,
Yeah.
it was like you're a
course.
wife. And then you're the mother. Like,
Of course.
it's the programming. But anyway, I surprised myself because, again, like you just said, you know, you're on this journey of life. I was 25, and then, like, I always say my biological clock blew up. It didn't tick. It wasn't ticking.
Oh, God.
It skipped that stage.
Just
and it was like
overnight.
I woke up one day and I was like, I'm going to have a child.
Wow.
And I happened to be with her father, and this, like, till this day, it's like, you know, he and I, we were great co-parents. We love one another. We wish each other happy birthday and happy Mother's Day and Father's Day.
Cute.
We had a bit of a tumultuous relationship.
Okay.
You know, it was back and forth, up and down, all that. But the one thing that was interesting is that we always managed to be friends through it all.
I love that.
Yeah, we did.
Probably because there's real, genuine love there.
Yeah,
You're just,
it was
we're
either-
not the best for each other.
Honestly, I mean, sorry, Peter, but I'm just going to blow it up. We were either having sex or we weren't. That was the nature of our relationship for 3 years.
Got it. God said, this is literally your baby daddy.
I mean, like, you know, even though, but I'm saying, like, leading up to that, you know, and we always talked about, you know, we were young and dumb. Like, we always talked about getting married. I was 20.
How old were you at the time?
I was 22 at the
Oh,
time.
wow.
And he was 20.
Oh, wow.
And I never dated younger guys. I was always dating older men.
You are
Like, even when I
babies.
shouldn't have been, I was always dating older men. So he was the first person that I dated that was younger than me.
You couldn't even go out to the bar together.
It was New York in the 90s. We could do that.
Oh, you could. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe not now, but back then you could do
Okay. I retract my
You
statement.
missed it. You missed those days.
I wasn't there. What do I know? Talking over here like I knew what New York was back in the 90s.
It's all good. So so the bomb went off. We were talking about getting married anyway. Of course everyone was like, "Oh, you're getting married because you're pregnant." It's like, do the math. It was pretty quick though. We got engaged Thanksgiving. Like, it was around Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Planned a wedding for February.
Wow.
Got pregnant on New Year's Eve.
Woo!
And I know because I asked the doctor. I was like, do you have an idea of when it could have been? And she was like, well, it was either Christmas or New Year's. I'm like, okay, yes. I know when it was. So it was during the Y2K scare.
Yes.
Because, you know, we always got to create the boogeyman somehow.
Yeah.
In this society that we live in. So there was a whole conversation leading up to 2000 that,
Yes.
you know, everything was going to crash. People were going to lose their money. All the accounts go to zero. You know, like all this hysteria.
Everyone was tripping.
Yeah, but for the most part, I mean, you know, Americans are going to joke. So it was it was a point of comedy.
Yeah.
For a lot of us, because it's like one way or another. Okay, so if everything goes to zero, what are you gonna do about it? Well, I'm gonna laugh on my way there. You know what I mean? So it was scary for a lot of people, but it was also one of those things where it was just like,
We're such drama.
yeah, it's like,
We
what are
are
you
a
gonna do
country
about
that
it?
loves sensationalized
Yes,
news. Like,
everything.
we
Yes.
need it. It's in our DNA.
Yes,
We're so
And I'm
funny.
talking about like 6 months out, maybe even a year. You know,
I can only imagine all the think pieces.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 6 at the time, so I was not paying attention to this. I do remember that New Year's, I had no clue the world was in hysteria at this time because I was just like, la-di-da-di-da,
of course,
like a
you're
little
baby,
kid, you
an
know?
innocent child. Yeah,
Yeah, I was busy making confetti to throw at midnight, literally,
love
like
it.
ripping up paper and coloring it with my sister.
I can see it.
I had no idea.
I was impressed. I mean, I was just like, whatever, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. But typically during New Year's, I'm either at church or I'm with family or both. You know, growing up, we would usually go to my grandmother's house. So I never did the going out thing for New Year's.
Got it.
But my aunt in Connecticut she wanted to host a Y2K party, right?
Okay.
So Peter and I went up there for that, and it was great. It was a great party.
Fun.
And I mean, I remember when she was conceived.
Oh,
I'll just leave it at that. But the point
she said the party was fun.
I do remember.
She brought home a little souvenir, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. By the time February rolled around, I was pregnant.
Okay. Wow, so you're the 2000s daughter.
Yeah. She was born in 2000.
That's so profound. I mean, I've never had the honor of meeting her in person, but everything I have learned about her from you, she does seem very magical and cool. She seems really cool. I'm not gonna lie. She's a tattoo
lot of fun.
artist.
Yes, she's an amazing tattoo artist. Yeah, portrait artist. That's really her thing. She paints.
Oh, she's an artist.
She's incredible.
You even have a few tattoos.
I do, and
right?
I'm so covered up. Next time.
Yeah, next time. It's okay. We can post pictures.
Yeah, that's true.
Check out the Let Me Be Fronk Instagram page, and I will be posting Okema's tattoos done by her talented daughter. What is your daughter's name again?
Legend,
Legend, because you are a legend. Love.
She's pretty great. But yeah, motherhood was something that, I always took very seriously, and I didn't play around with her either. I was very loving.
Yeah.
But I needed her to be someone who can function in this world. And at 23, she's going to be 24 in September. I'm proud of her.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. Outside looking in, it just seems like you've been an incredible mom. Okema sent me a podcast she was on previously where you talked about motherhood and raising your daughter. And you said, I had to make sure my daughter learned things at home through me because I wasn't about to let the streets teach her or someone else or a boy, a significant other. No, there will be boundaries. And I'm going to be really honest with her.
Wow, that really stuck with you, didn't it?
It did. I was like so moved by that. And
wow.
If more parents could get on board with this, where would we be? I actually wanted to ask you, as you know, my sister just had her first baby and I have quite a few friends who are new mothers.
Yes.
And I just have this like plethora of little children to love and I'm auntie list to them all. And I wanted to ask, do you have any words of encouragement or advice that you would like to pass off to new moms?
Yeah, this may throw people off, but focus on you. Take care of yourself.
Okay.
And when I say that, I'm only saying that we do a number on women.
Yeah.
We expect them to be everything to everyone at all times. And to the extent that the concept, I feel like I need to qualify this because I know that there are people who are going to hear this and go, huh?
I'm going to need you all to turn your listening ears back on.
But here's the deal. Taking care of yourself gives you the context for how you take care of others. So if you're shitting on yourself, dragging yourself, I'm talking about basic things like not getting proper sleep, water, nutrition, your mental health, you flushed it down the toilet a long time ago. I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to contribute to this human being if you're a wreck.
Yeah.
So yes, you put yourself first at all times because that will always give you the context for how you take care of your babies and your significant others and the community.
Yeah.
It always starts with you. So if you're, slipping and sliding when it comes to your well-being, you're going to be a tyrant for everybody around you.
That's some tough love advice. It starts with you. You set the standard. In another vein of that, it's also, you want to set a good example of your children and you don't want to model this person who, to a fault, puts everyone before yourself and you're literally running yourself into the ground. You're a shell of who you are. How is that really helping at the end of the day? Because your children are getting this very watered down, soulless version of you in a way.
And they resent that.
Yeah.
That's why I love that you're bringing that up because people get it twisted all the time. It's like, oh, if I say this and I say that. No, it's what you're doing. It's who you're being. Your children are around you all the time. They're they know when you're miserable and you're not telling the truth about it.
Yeah.
They know when you resent them. And attempting to cover that up by giving them shit. Oh, let's go on this trip together. Yeah, the trip together is great, but I'm still pissed off with you because you hurt my feelings. Ooh. And you're my parent. You didn't listen to me. I can't come to you to talk to when I'm talk to you about having a hard time because you can't even figure out your own stuff. This is the thing. And it's not so complicated because, again, if you're focused on taking care of you and being the best human being you could be for yourself first, then everything else is easy.
Absolutely.
I don't struggle to maintain the relationships that I have with the people that I love.
I don't doubt
because
it.
I'm just being who I am.
Yeah.
Being the wild, crazy person with the crazy mouth. But there's a lot of love. People do know that when they encounter me, they're going to encounter love.
You are one of the most loving people I've ever met,
Thank
genuinely.
You. It's hard sometimes, but I'm proud of that.
I can only imagine being a loving person and living in New York City of all places. You're tested day in, day out, minute by minute, second by second.
Yeah. But that's how I know it's real, though. See?
Exactly.
Because I haven't given up yet.
I'm not giving up yet. I'm still here. Literally. You keep coming back. May I ask some of the ways that when early days of motherhood, because obviously you're still a mom, what are the ways you showed love to yourself and took care of yourself?
Well, thank you for asking the question. I'm going to be 100% transparent and just say that, I struggled with that.
Yeah.
I was young. I was 26 when I had my daughter.
Right.
And it's so funny. I was joking. A friend of mine does a live every morning. That's part of it's a daily devotion that I do with this amazing community of people. Called Morning Light, by the way.
Morning Light.
I'm giving a plug.
Is this on Instagram?
It's on Instagram.
Let's plug it, yeah.
Morning Light.
Okay.
incredible.
Where can people go to find this?
Instagram. It just supports what I'm committed to in my life.
Love.
So
we could all start.
that's why I
morning
got
with
the shout out.
a little devotion, a little morning light.
I mentioned morning light because people talk about 40s is the new 20, and like somehow that became a thing, and it's just like no, like I'm in my 40s and I'm all right with that. You know, like I'm in a very good place in my life. You can pay me to have me go back to my 20s.
Wow.
Because while I had a great time, it was a lot of pain.
Yeah.
It was very, very painful. And part of the pain for me was just like trying to figure it out. I just felt very lost.
I think 20s is a mismarketed decade.
Yeah.
But of course, there's a lot of fun and, you know, youth, and it's kind of the real first time in your life where you actually have freedom because, like, you're eventually in the drinking age and you're not a teenager and you're out of high school and all the things like that. But it is this weird phenomenon of all of a sudden you find yourself kind of like plopped in the middle of society and you're like, who am I? What do I want to do? What are my values? What do I believe in?
Yes.
Like, and you kind of go through maybe a little bit of an identity crisis trying to figure out who you are and who you want to be.
That's right.
Because for me, my 20s, I was like, I feel like I have a sense of who I am, but where do I need to improve? Who do I want to be? Who is the type of person, the type of woman I aspire to be?
That's right.
And what are the qualities and the things I need to become her and be successful and really carry out my dreams and goals and ambitions? And yeah, it took 10 years and I'm still working on it.
And you will be.
Of course.
But I think that the working on it will become less effort. It's like as you take on your authenticity, you know, you're clear about who you are.
Yeah.
For today, because today is all we have anyway. You don't have to have tomorrow figured out.
Yes.
I mean, yes. Listen, I'm a planner, so I'm all about having a vision. Right. You have a vision, you execute it. Okay, I understand that.
Releasing yourself from the pressure. Even now, I've had such a transformed state of mind when it comes to just evolving and becoming who I'm supposed to be. Every day I shift and change a little bit more. Right. But I know my values. I know my roots. I know my core and like my intention. And I have felt the release of pressure once I recently turned 30 in January. And it's true what they say. You kind of do feel this release of pressure. I'm just like, okay, I survived my 20s. What now? And I feel myself being much less rigorous on myself to like figure it out every day. You have to figure it out right now. You have to know everything by tomorrow. I'm like, I'm just going to do what I can today and go from there. And that is such a better way to live. It's so much healthier. It's so much more realistic because a lot of the problems in my life I was causing for myself by having these crazy high expectations and being mean and beating myself down when I wouldn't meet X, Y, or Z goals.
That's right.
Like, babes, I'm a human.
Yeah.
I need love and grace, just like I show to my friends and other people, and I preach to do that. Like, show it back to yourself, okay?
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's great because that right there is what I'm talking about. Like, real authenticity is literally I don't think I'd ever be able to describe what authenticity would look like for a person in their life, but you just did that.
Okay,
you totally just did that.
Thank you.
Because it is about checking in.
Yes.
And it's not about stopping the action and like, don't berate yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Listen, I drag myself all the time. But I'm
Sometimes
aware
we
when
need
I'm
to.
doing it. And I make a choice not to.
Right.
More often than not. Because when I am doing it, it's just like, you know, awareness is everything. Yes. So it's really just about taking the time to check in with yourself and be like, wait a minute, this is not feeling right.
Right. Be present with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I credit a lot of this to my therapist. She has really helped me come around. It might sound silly to some, but it works. I kind of parent myself sometimes. Like sometimes I talk to myself like a little kid, like, okay, Alyssa, like you feel a little anxious today. What's going on? Like, let's just like sit with it and get to the root. And it's just like, take some time to really think, really check in, be present, be like, why, what am I feeling? Okay. And why am I feeling this way? Do I know why? Do I know if there's a trigger? Do I know if there's a need unmet? And then let's try to solve that. Or if it's not something that can necessarily be solved, acceptance. Okay, I'm feeling this way right now. It's just a feeling. It's going to pass. This does not define me. That whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you said you kind of struggled with that during motherhood in the early days. So is this something you eventually learned how to do? Or is this advice stemming from reflection and looking back and being like, I wish I knew and could have done that better?
It's a little bit of both, but it's definitely like learning It's trial and error. Like just, I've been really, my ability to like grasp concepts and learn a lesson is pretty sharp.
Yeah.
It's pretty on point. So I don't really have to go through the same thing too many times. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like once I have an experience that I don't really enjoy, I just get whatever I can get from it and keep it moving. I don't believe in chasing my tail.
Love it. Healthy. All right. I want to talk a little bit about career because we have a little fun Easter egg to drop. So you got into nails, then you transitioned into management.
Yes.
And then you transitioned into hair.
Yes.
How many years have you been doing hair?
What is it? Is it 14 years now?
14 years. Okay.
The funny thing about being a hairstylist now is that it's not something I ever wanted to do. Like
Interesting.
And I'm finding that that's a common theme with me because you probably get into the other stuff where it's like I didn't want to do that either, and here I am. I ended up doing hair because I'd been in management for 8 years. I love business. I have a business degree. And I really do. Like I truly love. I have an entrepreneurial spirit. I always love business. But I was missing having those relationships. Like
I see.
Everyone was my client when I was the manager of a salon and day spa. So in the very beginning, it was important to me to try everything. Everything I can get my hands in. Shoots, Fashion Week.
Good for you.
I actually hated Fashion Week.
Tell me more.
I did that a couple of times and I was like, this is not for me.
Why did you hate it?
Because it's always chaotic and I can't stand it.
Okay.
I need order and I don't care. I feel like sometimes people create chaos so they can feel significant.
Do you think that happens a lot at Fashion Week?
Of course it does. It's a culture. That business in general is a culture of chaos. Because trust me, I had to do a lot of investigating and cleaning up and like holding people to account for what they said they were going to do so that my people can get paid. Yeah, it's raggedy. But anyway, tried all the things. And then...
you went on tour a few times, I believe.
I was on tour once, yes.
Who did you go on tour with?
A pop star. I was on tour with MILEY CYRUS.
And what tour were you on?
The Bangerz tour.
Can y'all freaking
2014.
believe that? She witnessed pop culture history. She went to the
it's true.
You were working the Bangerz tour.
I was a part of the pop culture history.
You were?
Yeah, because we developed we worked with this really fancy, schmancy, amazing stylist. He was great. He really trusted us to create the looks, to choose the wigs.
Okay.
There were 39 wigs in the show, so.
How many people were doing hair?
Only 2 of us.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
Yeah. But it was great. I mean, we worked really well as a team, and she'd done it a couple of times. Like, she was actually on tour with Madonna.
Okay.
Like 2 times before that. She had that experience under her belt, and she invited me to come on. And my friend Jazz, who was a hairstylist for many, many years, is the one who invited me to go on tour with her.
Okay.
And MILEY CYRUS. How I know Jazz, shout out to Jazz.
Hey, Jazz.
How I know Jazz is she is my ex-husband's second wife.
That's incredible.
So so
you found each other and bonded through...
Well, we always had a fondness for one another.
I love
We didn't do drama. We were excellent co-parents, so...
Good for y'all.
By the time she came around, it was just, I remember when my daughter came home and she was excited to meet her and her kids. I was like, why would I have a problem with this,
That's amazing.
So yeah, we call each other sister wives, but like we went from being, for having a fondness for one another to her noticing, like I would post, whether I got paid for a job or not, I was constantly posting on Facebook back then. And so it was in her psyche. So it became, when they needed to add another person, it was a no-brainer for her to ask me. Wow. Meanwhile, I had only been doing hair at that point for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And I wasn't even trying to get a job like that.
Okay.
But I was putting in my work. I was showing my work.
Of course.
And I was prepared for the opportunity.
You deserved that opportunity. You were hustling. You already put in the time, the effort, the work, all that.
I did.
And it sounds like you crushed.
It was great.
Everything you've told me from that is high praise. You said the Cyrus family, love them.
Amazing.
MILEY, just tell the audience what you've told me.
I mean, she was great. I didn't really know what to expect because, like, my daughter had Hannah Montana curtains.
Of course.
And,
Hannah Montana was that girl.
Yes. So all I knew about MILEY CYRUS was Hannah Montana and then the VMAs.
Okay. Oh, was your daughter freaking out over this?
She actually wasn't. She thought it was cool, but she was like, oh, okay.
Okay. I'm freaking out now and I'm 30 years old and this happened a million years ago.
At the time, let me see, it was 14. She was 13, and she just, I think after Hannah
started being
Montana,
cool.
she kind of missed the,
Okay.
you know, I don't know. She didn't follow through with the transition. That's the thing.
No, because she pivoted so hard, it lost a lot of the kiddies.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wasn't like, if she would have been 16, I think it would have been different.
Okay, fair.
She would have been with her longer through the childhood, you know, but her fan base, they were like lots of young kids, teens.
When I found out that you went on tour with Miley Cyrus and the Bangerz tour of all tours, my sister's gonna flip. Me and her love Bangerz, like love that album. It's actually one of my biggest regrets is not going to that tour specifically because now Miley doesn't tour. She's come out and publicly been like, I don't like touring. I'm probably not going to tour for a very long time, if ever.
She was doing it. She grew up doing it though.
I mean, they worked her like a dog.
They did, man. That's why I'm glad that at 20 she was like, I'm doing what I want. And I don't care if it's a phase. I'm doing it and that's it.
I love the Cyrus family. I'm so glad. And I was so happy to hear that it was a positive experience. And this is like a good, loving, cool family.
Yep.
Because I feel like you always hear about the horror stories. So y'all rest assured that the Cyrus family, the Cyrus women, I will say, let's be specific. The Cyrus women, they're the real deal.
Yes, they are.
Love it. So ministry.
Yes.
What's all that about? That's kind of a hard pivot.
It seems like it. But, you know, people say all the time that, like, doing hair is a ministry because you're working with people and touching them, this and that. Yeah. You know, so I did have a call when I was 8.
Really?
Yeah. And I used to, like...
What was the call? Walk us through that.
So I grew up going to church every Sunday, primarily Lutheran. I was baptized Lutheran.
Okay.
That surprises people all the time. So they're like, really? I'm like, yeah. I was raised Lutheran.
I was baptized Baptist.
Well, my mother's Baptist. She's from North Carolina as well.
Shout out.
So the Baptists are representing down in North Carolina. But, you know, what I found out, like, being in seminary, because I've actually been on this journey since maybe 18. Because I got a certificate of transformational ministry.
Okay.
So I did that just to kind of like get my feet wet a little bit. And then I started a part-time program. Masters of Divinity program, which most people assume is 2 years, but it's actually 3 to 4 years, depending on if you're going part-time or full-time. So I did start, my first 2 years was part-time. And then, of course, I had to ramp it up.
And this is now.
Yeah. So fast forward to now.
What was the calling at 8? What do you mean by that?
The calling at 8. So I went to Lutheran school. This is how we ended up becoming Lutheran because my mother's like, well, if the school's good enough, let's go to the church. Okay. So went to the school and I was 8 years old, sitting in chapel, listening to the pastor who couldn't have looked any more different than I did. Long, lanky, white man from the Midwest.
We're all envisioning it.
Carl. But he was really good. I mean, I noticed that as a kid that he had an extraordinary talent. Okay. You know, and I don't know, I just found him captivating. So he's speaking and I look at him and I go, I'm going to do that one day. That was my thought. Wow. But immediately I shot it down from the sky. I was like, I'm a girl. Oh. I'm not holy enough. I'm not this enough. Yeah. Can you imagine being 8 years old? And,
I'm not holy enough. Who does that? What were you doing?
Girl, it's just the indoctrination. No. That like yearning that I had.
But you felt that from the age of 8.
I felt that, yeah, because I hadn't seen a woman in ministry until like middle school. Okay. Like I used to watch Joyce Myers on TV. I was
just about to say, was it Joyce Myers?
It was Joyce Myers. And I loved her because she was fiery.
On the ABC Family Channel?
Joyce reminded me of my aunts, you know what I mean? Like, and my grandmother. Like,
I hope she's doing well. She's still alive?
She is. I still see what she's up to.
I would love to get lunch with her. You know, she'd be fun to get lunch with.
She would. And, you know, so she was part of that shift. And I just ignored it. I didn't want to do it. Okay. You know, just like Moses, who told God no, when God was like, you need to lead your people to freedom. Yeah, it just wasn't something I was going to do. Okay. And I really didn't think about it. And, you know, I spent a lot of my, you know, teens and like going into adulthood rebelling. You know, I am a like living, breathing rebellion pretty much. So, and I'm all right with that.
She said, I accept.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of my path. And what ended up happening was, you know, I lived my life and I've been, you know, you see life unfold and it's not always cute. No. So when you've been through enough, you get, you know, I got to a point in my life where I was like, wow, I didn't go through all this stuff for nothing at all. Like there's this, and I'm not talking about, it happened for a reason. No,
no, you know what it is?
It's bigger than that. It's like,
it's transforming trauma.
Yes, it's alchemizing. That's what it is. And I am an alchemist.
Yeah, you are.
And when people are attracted, I've learned that people who say they're attracted to my energy, that's what it is. It's the alchemy. And I'm going to say like more from a romantic standpoint because that involves more close contact.
Okay.
And and I've had people tell me your energy. I just need to touch you. And it's just like, yeah, I know. But that I know is new. Like that's within the last year. Yeah. Now I can say, okay, yeah, this is what it is. Because I ran away from all that stuff. That was the rebellion. I was running away from like, my intuitive gifts. I was running away from embracing, what many of us refer to as God as like someone that is a part of who I am.
Yeah.
Like not separate from me, but like literally what gives me my breath, what has me breathe. So yeah, you go through this, you go through this life, and then it gets to a point where I ran until I couldn't run anymore. There's a lot of resistance,
decades of resistance.
100%. I didn't even go to church for 20 years.
Wow.
Because I had it up to here with Christianity. Like so many people. So that is the same thing that had me go, you know what? Some of us can change the systems from the inside. I'm going to be one of those people. And,
wow.
That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm not interested in doing things the way they've been. It doesn't work.
I'm a huge fan of what you're doing. I'm one of those people who have been fed up by the Christian church. I was raised in a Christian conservative household most of my life.
Yep.
I'm grateful for certain things looking back. Like it gave community. Some of my lifelong friends still to this day are from church. However, once I left my hometown, got out of the bubble, and I went to college, I got involved with youth groups on campus and tried to explore it there. And I just was having so much friction with meeting all these new people on campus, people of different walks of life, religions, races, all of the above, because I grew up in a really, really white community and I went to a really white church. And then I was meeting all these people of different backgrounds, races, religions, sexual orientations. And I loved these people. I was learning so much from them in a way I've never learned before. And then I was going to these youth groups, damning most of these people and
tell the truth and talk
like
about it,
turning them away or being like, yeah, if you're gay, you're welcomed here, but you're gonna go to hell.
Yeah, and calling yourself a Christian at that.
Yeah, and just this double standard of treatment. And I ultimately left and I stopped going. I went to a few churches around Charlotte and I just didn't vibe with anything anymore. Everything felt like a giant play of hypocrisy.
Well, it is. It's not felt like, it was that.
No, and I felt so internally conflicted because I'm like, I identify as a spiritual person.
Yes.
I love a lot of the Christian teachings, like love your neighbor as yourself and being generous and kind and advocating for people. But I don't see that played out in the Christian community.
That's it.
And that's what I was really struggling with because I'm like, you're telling me to love my neighbor as myself, but then I'm seeing you guys only love your white neighbors as yourself. And you're turning a blind eye to everything else going on just because they don't look like you. And I didn't want to be associated with that group of people anymore. So I just totally left the church. I have stopped referring to myself as a Christian. I refer to myself as a spiritual person. Yes. I do believe that there is a higher power. I do believe in the power of prayer and God. I still have spiritual practices.
You're still tapped in. You're still connected.
Yeah. But I've really struggled with that because I don't want to be associated with a hateful group of people. And I don't want to cause any more damage in that sector.
Yeah.
So I've kind of, I have separated. And honestly, I'm just continuing living out those same practices just on my own. And doing them in small ways within my community. So I feel like if we want to get technical, hi, baby. Hi. I'm still ministering technically in small ways just by trying to be like Christ would. Being generous.
100%.
Looking out for people. Checking in. Asking if they're okay. Just like trying to be open-minded, accepting, loving, all of the above. But yes.
Yeah. Because Jesus didn't come here to create Christianity.
No.
Surprise. No. Jesus came here as a Jewish man who was very observant, who died Jewish.
Can we remind people? Jesus was a Jew, guys.
Yes. Following Jewish law.
But Jesus also wasn't white either. Well, can we just say that?
Some people still can't say that, but it's okay. They say, oh, what does it matter? Well, what matters is that you're lying.
What matters is you don't treat people who looked like him
Well, that's the irony.
with love and grace. Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, if Jesus were to present himself to you to this day, a large majority of Christians would not recognize him and turn him away.
Because he was poor, he was from the hood.
He was hanging out with all the others, the weirdos, the unaccepted, the outcasts. Jesus would have never rolled up to a church. Like,
well, he would have, and he would have flipped the tables. No, but it's just like, yeah, so he was all of those things that would easily be rejected right now, today. And he had the nerve and the gall to present something new. Yeah. In regards to how we relate to God.
Yeah.
That was the revolutionary, like, oh, love the whore. Right. Love the person who can't walk on his own.
The leopards. And the thing was, even his teachings at the time were really pushed against.
100%.
And a lot of people are like, this is not the Son of God.
Yeah, this is not correct.
He's a phony. Yeah. Like, he was rejected by his own people.
Jesus living amongst us is Jesus living amongst us. We must model the behavior. That's what everlasting life is.
Right.
You model the behavior that loves people and takes care of people.
Yes. You're not doing this for people to try to get something in return or make yourself look a certain way.
It's not transactional.
It's like doing stuff in the most humble, pure-hearted, intentional way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we have a lot of work to do around that.
Leaps and bounds.
Part of why I'm in this work is because I believe that we can.
And I thank God literally for people like you, because I'll be honest, I'm not exactly helping the problem. I'm quick to criticize and be like, I don't like this, I reject it, but am I...
Let me tell you something. This is going to sound a little churchy, but you're being a witness. Like, how you live your life. This is how we witness. We don't witness by knocking on the door and talking people to death about who we think Jesus and God is. We witness by how we treat other people.
Yes.
How we relate to other people. How we love other people. Yeah. That is our witness. That is God in action.
Yeah.
Because again, I don't believe that God is separate from us. And I'm still working on removing that indoctrination by giving God gender. God is genderless. And if it's gonna have a gender, it's gonna probably be a woman.
Period.
Because she's Mother Earth. Don't you find it interesting that the way we refer to the earth is feminine. But the earth is part of creation.
Right.
There's no power like nature.
Right.
You think that's separate from what we call God?
Some people do.
Bless them.
I want to hear more about how you are working to change the church from within. So what does that look like to you?
So, it's really amazing because the other thing is that when I finally did make it to seminary, it was specifically to deal with these systems of oppression. Because I know that so many of them have, if not all of them, every single one of them, have been facilitated by the church. Created and facilitated by the church from the beginning to right now. So... I've always been that person who I like to get my hands dirty, pull my sleeves back, and I'm bold, right? So I don't mind being in the middle of chaos and calling it chaos. And, there's something else that has to be created. It's not enough to critique the chaos and the dysfunction and the hate for humanity.
Right, no.
If you're not willing to offer something. So sometimes the offering may just be you. It just may be you loving another person, recognizing their humanity, recognizing their divinity.
Yeah.
It's we think that it's supposed to be a big gesture, this big happening. No, it's like in the mundane.
Yeah.
The miracle is in the mundane.
You're so right. That is such a good reframe because I was just quick to even criticize myself. Like, I'm quick to criticize the church. But yeah, the truth is I try to live out the values day to day, and it's in small ways. It's being gentle with someone. It's offering grace.
Yep.
And not matching someone else's energy, whatever is going on with them. Being like, this is still a human and they're having a hard time. And this is on them and not me. And I can respond with grace, love, empathy, compassion. Yeah.
And that's your witness. That's what I'm talking about.
Can I get a witness?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's true. It's just, thank you for being a wonderful, loving witness.
Stop.
Let's do the work that needs to be done. So, a lot of it is really in naming a thing.
Okay.
I know people are sick and tired of hearing colonization, but we're colonized. The whole entire world is colonized, and we really better get it together, because when BRICS comes through, it's going to be a whole flip.
Yeah.
Because remember, the global is like, I refuse to refer to myself as a minority because I'm part of the global majority.
Yeah.
Most people in the world look like me.
Hello. Beautiful.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, and, you know, I don't care about the texture of the hair. I'm talking about the skin color.
Yeah.
I go to Mexico, I see people like this. I was in Bali, I saw people like this. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people, oh, what's the skin color? Well, the skin color is what determined who was going to be colonized and who wasn't.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, you know, even the colonizers are colonized, because the way the system is set up, it's a trap and no one's getting out free.
That's so true.
No one, and you, for those of you resisting that point I just made, look at your family members. How peaceful are they living their life? And I don't care what kind of tax bracket they fall in. Where is their peace? And this is what I'm talking about. This thing has everyone in a grip, in a chokehold. So it's actually if you identify as a human being, it is to your advantage that this stuff stops. Because you'll never have peace.
Right.
You'll never feel safe. Listen, if you got to demonize a group of people and you know, be right about how they're animals and how they're a threat, where's your peace coming from?
Right.
In your cabinet of guns? Well, what if you can't get to the cabinet quick enough? It's a mess. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be addressed and dealt with and named. You have to start with naming it.
When you say that, you mean naming things like racism, oppression, inequality.
We've been doing that. Now
Okay.
it's time to really talk about how these things got developed, why they exist in the first place.
Okay.
See, it's the next level of truth. Because to call out racism, anyone can do that,
Yeah.
including the racists themselves. Because now they've gotten to a point where if you mention anything concerning race, you're the racist. It's like a reversal. But you're still not going to wiggle out of responsibility for your participation. You can call me whatever you want. I know who I am. And I know what I'm committed to in this life.
Right.
So I'm not worried about what I'm being called, you know, so then I could then be distracted from doing the work that I said I was going to do.
So your sermons, you are educating the congregation on colonization and ways that shows up in religion in the world.
So I'm very like texts. Let me make sure I'm not butchering this word. I'm like a textualist. So I really, when I'm writing a sermon, I do go to the text. I do, if some of you are wondering what I'm talking about, the Bible.
Heard of it?
I'm building my sermons off of the, you know, the good word, the living word.
The New King James Version?
Absolutely not.
When I found out about that version.
The thing about the Bible, even the Good News Bible, like the Bible is a tool of empire. No matter what translation, no matter, you know, what it is, the Bible itself as a canon, as a collection of books throughout history put together and determined to be the truth and God's word, is a tool of empire. And then the King James.
And what do you mean by that?
So tool of empire, it's what has been used to control and maintain people and develop systems of oppression.
Okay.
Because you can always go back to this thing and say, this is where it is. They legitimized human trafficking of Africans in this country and all over the Americas. North America, South America, the Caribbean. They said it was in the Bible.
Is it something to do with like respect your masters or?
Right. But they always forget, you know, that's why it's very important to read before and after. They forget to mention the part about masters treat your slaves with respect. Because even that was a completely different system. They recognized their slaves as human.
Right.
And slavery was something that existed, you know, for all of you guys talking about, oh, well, slavery always existed in human existence. Listen, we flipped it and bounced it in this country and through colonization. Why? Because it was the first system that people were born into and died into. The reason why race is such an issue in this country is because if an enslaver raped his slave and that slave birthed children that were white as snow, guess what?
They were considered slaves.
Yeah, because they could be bought and sold. They were commodities. So this is why you have Black people that can pass as for white, and some of them have. Mm-hmm. So a lot of you white people, you're not really white, just to let you know. And then you have Black people. You have people that identify as Black, and I know it confuses people because they're like, oh, but they look white. Well, this is why. Because their entire family line has maintained, for better or worse, the family line is the family line.
Mm-hmm. And even that went on to create more issues of colonization, like the whole colorism thing.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Like ranking people on their class or their worthiness or attractiveness based on the color of their skin.
Yep.
Like the lightest are at the top, the darkest at the bottom.
It's part of the social strata that we still have. Systems. You see what I'm saying?
Let's get rid of it. We're sick of it.
Yeah, but we have to figure out what we're going to develop. That's the thing. It's easy to tear something down, but like
there has to be something else in place. I don't know. How about loves and hugs?
We can start with that.
Okay.
I think that's a good start. I'm with it.
Looking out for each other.
Yeah.
Being a real community.
Excellent point.
Loving your neighbor as yourself for once, the way God intended.
What extraordinary concepts you bring to the table.
And thank you for your work and your dedication to the cause. I mean, bigger scope, it just stems from your love of people.
Yes, it's true.
Your love of humanity, your love of service, and like also your relationship with God, which has ebbed and flowed through the years, but
any relationship, there are ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Because
God doesn't abandon people.
Not at all.
No. We abandon him a lot. I have in some ways, but yeah, I can't wait to catch a sermon because your church is very close to where I live.
23rd.
June 23rd?
Yes.
June 23rd.
11 a.m. Park Slope United Methodist Church. That's on 6th Avenue between 7th Street and 8th Street.
You want to get a brunch afterwards?
That would be great.
Okay, let's do it. As I talked to you on the phone, this episode is coming out on Juneteenth, and I wanted to acknowledge that because it's a really important holiday in this country. For those of you who don't know what Juneteenth is also known as the National Independence Day, and it's a federal holiday that commemorates the ending of slavery.
Or more specifically, when people knew that slavery had been eradicated.
Right.
Quote unquote. At least that form of slavery had been.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they basically got word when they got word, and it was...
Wasn't this down in Texas?
Yes, Galveston. Look at you.
Nothing.
All right, now. Yeah, so like growing up, it was something I was aware of that happened, but I thought it was just for the folks in Texas.
Okay.
And I think that by the time 2020 happened, I mean, there was more and more, because they have a Juneteenth in Harlem, actually.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, there's lots of parades in Harlem, you know, in the summer. So I was just like... Remember, it was years back. I was like, oh, what is this? And a girlfriend of mine was like, oh, it's Juneteenth. And I was like, oh, interesting. Because for me, I had always connected it to Texas.
I see.
And Americans are so funny. This whole thing about it should be a federal holiday. It's like, okay, great. So then now what?
What does that mean?
Right. What does that mean?
It's kind of a nothing burger.
It means that a lot of people are getting paid for their time. Well, not a lot of people, unfortunately. But it means that there are people getting paid time off. Yay for them.
Some people. Most people
are not.
Black people are still working this day.
Yes. So for me, it's funny. I'm doing a writing program. I don't know if you know this. I'm doing a writing program that's being hosted at Villanova.
Yes, you did tell me about that.
Yeah. So it starts next week.
Okay, wow.
So I'll actually be in the midst of...
So you're going to be in the books.
Yeah, so
you said, not this year. Catch me next year. Catch me at the Harlem Parade next year.
Yeah, so I meant to tell you earlier, this class is like the class I'm doing right now. Mm-hmm. Because it's like 12 weeks worth of class in 2 weeks. Yeah, it's insane. I've done those. They be like summer intensives.
I'll be praying for you.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to ask you to do that. No, for real.
Done.
So yeah, I'll be in Philly doing Juneteenth, and not really sure. Like I said, the class is more from a Latinx liberation perspective. So
I see.
That my father's Puerto Rican, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I meant to, put that in my thing. Oh, Afro-Latina. I definitely represent that.
Yes.
And it does not negate. One doesn't negate from the other.
No, absolutely not.
Because I'm
They're
very
both
much
important parts of your identity.
I'm very much a Black woman, in case you didn't notice.
Hello.
And I have she's passed away, but I had a very black grandmother, like black, that was Puerto Rican from Santurce and came from a line of people that looked like her that was brought to that island, you know? So there's evidence. We are the evidence. We are all the evidence of, you know, the systems we talked about earlier.
Yeah. I'm a European descent.
Yeah, but your folks had to deal with systems too.
Oh, yeah. That
Especially if they didn't have any money.
But yeah, Juneteenth. So you won't be able to celebrate it this year. But what does that holiday mean to you? Or is that a stupid question?
No.
Okay.
Just like so many of the other holidays for me, it's just like connection. There's got to be some good food somewhere for the folks. Just connection, reflection. I mean, it's what... I mean, Black folks are not a monolith, but at least in my family, I can speak for my family and our traditions, you know, we connect. And that connection usually involves food. You got to have the food and just a good time, you know, just connecting and cultivating that love. Yeah. That needs to be spread. You know what I mean?
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone will have their own tradition, but I think for me it's been as an adult, it's just very much, I mean, I reflect every day, but I think it's a specific type of reflection that I'm not really sure I can even give language to it.
That's okay. Like, it was a big question. It was
slow down. You know what I mean? Like that's what it is. Like that reflection involves me to slow down.
Slow down and be with your people.
Yeah. Involves me, requires me. Yeah.
Okay, Okema. I have to ask you the central show question, which is, what is something you'd like to be Fronk about? Take your time.
Oh my God, it's like so much. What would I like to be?
So much. I'll have you back.
Okay. So what I would like to be Fronk about is that today was a little bit of a struggle for me.
Yeah. Okay.
It was rough.
Why was that? Why is that?
Because I have a lot of things that I'm managing, and depression and anxiety is one of them. And, I woke up this morning and one moment I was fine and the next moment I wasn't. And I was like, okay. Because I've gotten to a point in my journey where I'm like, I'm no longer struggling with something's wrong with me. It's like, okay, so this is what we're doing now. Okay. So I just gave myself some grace. Jay, my fiance. And it's so funny. Shout out, Jay.
You're like, I forgot about my man.
And by the way, he's from Queens. So, Queens get the money.
I love that two native New Yorkers coming together. A marital union just as God intended, God herself.
For real. Yeah, so we I do my meditation and my devotion, and I usually speak with him either before or after that, but at some point in the morning before I leave the apartment, we'll talk. And that didn't happen this morning, so he ended up calling me, and I was just like, I remember looking at the phone, just being like, and then I didn't pick it up, because I was actually like, my hands weren't available. Yeah. So I was just like, I'm gonna call him right back. And then I just called him, and, he asked me how I was doing, and I was just honest with him. I was frank with him. See?
And what did you say?
Look at the power of this show.
I love.
So I just let him know, like, really, he's like, how you doing? I'm like, it's been rough. Why? I'm like, just because it is. So what I want to say about that is that, one, I knew it wasn't going to last all day. I knew it was going to last forever, but it's really fascinating to me how just naming a thing gave me the freedom to, like, notice these two amazing dogs around the corner from my building when I walked out, and then allow myself to be shifted because I got to socialize with them.
Cute.
And then, like, allow myself to be shifted because I got to have this amazing conversation with someone I love and be grateful for his presence in my life. You know what I mean? But all those things would have been tainted if I would have been hiding from the fact that I was feeling a little crappy today.
Love this.
And now I'm here with you, and it's just been extraordinary.
So you're telling me you're being Fronk about being Fronk. Meta.
There you go.
Be Fronk about your feelings. Be real with where you at in the present moment.
Yes.
It's going to turn around. It's going to be okay. Like, feelings are not lasting. Feelings are not permanent.
That's right.
State of mind's not permanent.
Yeah. So,
but having the power to name that, release this.
The grip.
Yeah. I love that. So be more Fronk about your feelings.
Yeah.
That's the message. If you're not okay, say you're not okay.
Yeah, tell the truth.
Let your loved ones, let your community, let them support you. They want to. Trust.
Yeah. And I didn't always know that. I had to learn that the hard way. One of those lessons. So
Yeah.
I'm doing better these days.
You're one of my, I am not just saying this, you're one of my favorite people here. I've learned so much through you. You've created a lot of safe space for me to open up. And you've also opened up about your life, and we just have exchanged so much. And it's moved me in ways I can't even explain. And you've helped me open my mind and my heart. And I really needed to meet you. And I will never forget you in this lifetime. I don't plan on it because I'm going to pester you to the end of time.
You can pester me to the end of time.
Okay, yay!
I love you, girl.
I love you. Thank you so much for coming on the show and being here. And I'm just so excited for people to hear what you have to say and listen to this episode or watch it on YouTube. And I hope they show up to one of your sermons. I can't wait. I'm going to be there.
You will. It'll be the time when it's time for you to be there.
You're my new minister.
Yay.
Okay, Okema, if people want to connect with you, where can they do that?
So you can connect with me at Okema Diaz Beauty on Instagram.
Okema's a great follow because aside from the little tidbits she shares about her life, she is hot on the platform with her social activism and sharing resources and calling out things that need to be called out. I've learned so much just through following you. And thank you for your work and thank you for utilizing your voice. What better example of character is there than that? Like, I don't know. Like, you're actually someone who's being like, yep, I'm affected by these systems, but I'm also working to change them. Incredible, powerful, impactful work. Thank you for everything.
So sweet. Thank you.
You're so
I
sweet.
appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for tuning in to Let Me Be Fronk. As always, new episodes drop every Wednesday. We have the audio-only version on Spotify and the video version on YouTube, where I like to upload bonus content, extended cuts, more to come after this episode. Please subscribe to both, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Thanks for being here.